DC Central Kitchen celebrating its milestone 100th graduation for culinary job training program. It has provided incarcerated, homeless, unemployed, and underemployed adults careers in the food industry. And here to tell us all about tonight's ceremony is CEO Mike Curtin, the Central Kitchen founder Robert Egger, and radio host Tavis Smiley. Guys, thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Happy to be here.
Especially on such a very exciting day for all of you.
It is. It's a huge day.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So for folks that maybe aren't familiar with this program,
Sure.
Explain it for us.
Sure. So DC Central, we do a whole host of things based on using food as a tool to strengthen bodies, empower minds, and build communities. So we gather food that would otherwise go to waste, bring it to the kitchen, prepare healthy meals that we then send to shelters, transitional homes, other social service agencies. But while we do that, we train men and women for jobs in the hospitality business, folks, as you said, that have been incarcerated, addicted, homeless, and then we run a whole host of social enterprise businesses employing those men and women, putting good products into the community.
And for folks who maybe want to get involved in this, what do they need to know? How can they apply? What do you look for in applicants?
We look for people who are committed to making a change in their life, people who have been in a place that they don't want to be any longer and want to take a part in our national economic conversation. They can come apply to the program, work with our staff, and start down the road that the men and women graduating today are going to be starting on next week.
And so, as we said earlier, this is the 100th graduation ceremony. Roger, what can you tell us about the people in past graduation years, what they've gone on to do, and how successful they've been?
Well, I think that's the great part of it. I mean, Mike can speak a lot to this, but what's important is not so much people graduating, it's that people get a job and keep a job.
Right.
You know, and I think the rate of employment is really profound. I mean, over the years we've seen graduation day in which 100% of the graduates get a job, but what we're at now is about, what, 92%?
92% since the recession in 2008.
Get a job and maintain that job. That is remarkable.
Well, what's remarkable is how much, I mean, this is business, man. We talk about this a lot, that it sounds like it's a good deed. These are men and women who, if they had gone back to prison, would have cost this country this, like 45, 50 grand per. Now out there, in fact, every year the students who go through, 80 men and women, they'll earn about $2 million in new salaries, pay $225,000 in new payroll taxes.
Wow.
And during the course of every class, they're going to produce about 250,000 meals. So this is a really powerful machine.
So we were showing a little bit of video there of folks, you know, in the kitchen. What is it about, do you think, training these men and women in the kitchen that seems to really get their attention and become a passion for them?
Well, I think everyone has a food story. The food is something that unites all of us as human beings. The food industry, the hospitality industry, also happens to be something that Robert grew up in, I grew up in, and it's an accepting industry. Okay. You can start a job. People aren't interested in your past, what you've done, where you've been. They're only interested in what you want to do, what you're committed to, and where you're going to go. So all the folks that you see now on TV, they all started peeling potatoes and scrubbing pots and pans, and now they're where they are, and that can happen to our graduates as well. And
Tavis, you're going to be there tonight speaking at the graduation ceremony. How did you get involved in this?
I am honored to be asked to say a few words at this 100th graduation. This is a big deal. I was sitting here content to be quiet, quite frankly. I'm on TV and radio every day, so I don't need any more airtime. But I was content to sit and listen to this conversation, in part because this week is a good example of what's wrong with our industry. All of the time we've wasted listening to Donald Trump spout off about nonsense, and our business treats this as if it's a serious issue, as if he's a serious contender. And here you now have a conversation about what really matters in our country, about policy related to economics, about policy related to social mobility, about economic mobility or immobility, as it were. These are the kinds of conversations we ought to be having. So if I'm going to get on a plane and leave Los Angeles to come to Washington, there's nothing more important, I think, that I could be a part of than supporting this graduation today, where people are, you know, are turning their lives around, finding gainful employment, aiding this economy in this slow turn that we're starting to make. This is what really matters. But this is just, you know, I'm happy just to be in a conversation this week about something that matters in our country.
Right. You want to talk about an organization here that's really impacting lives.
Absolutely.
So you're going to be speaking at this graduation ceremony where it's a graduation speaker's job to impart, inspiration.
And to recognize that nobody came to see you. That's the most important thing. Speakers must recognize, stand up, speak up, shut up, and sit down, because nobody came to see you.
True. What's your one piece of advice for these folks that are graduating tonight?
I think ultimately these graduates are going to be leaders in their own right. There are people watching them right now and the progress they have made. And my definition of leadership is very simple. You can't lead people unless you love people, and you can't save people unless you serve people. You can't lead without loving or save without serving. And these gentlemen, Mike and Robert, are perfect examples of this. That leadership is about loving and serving people. And so now that you've gained the skill that you've gained courtesy of DC Central Kitchen, you now have a chance to go out and love people and to serve people. And that's what this world needs more of. On a day where the Confederate flag comes down, we're reminded that love gets us through these difficult moments. And serving each other is what makes this country what it ought to be. And so I hope that they'll use these skills to not just to live a life of meaning and purpose and value in a world where their vulnerabilities outnumber their possibilities so often. But how do we get around to loving and serving each other in this place called America?
Right. And hopefully these folks that are graduating today will be an inspiration for someone else.
I think they will be.
Yeah. All right. Guys, Tavis, Roger, Mike, thanks so much for coming in. A huge congratulations on your 100th ceremony. Appreciate it.